Wallpaper Engine is the ultimate software to add live wallpapers to your PC, from videos to real-time graphics, interactive or audio wallpapers. Wallpaper Engine brings your desktop alive while taking care not to reduce the performance of games or currently running applications. The Steam Workshop provides a continuously growing wallpaper library of several hundreds of thousands of free wallpapers. You can also create your own wallpapers and share them with other Steam users and your friends, or use them on your own PC, and that is exactly what we will be doing in this course. There are countless categories for you to choose from: sports, games, nature, animation, and many more. It is an absolutely stunning and beautiful program. Please watch this till the end before enrolling in the course. Here I will explain the basic requirements for the course. You absolutely have to watch this. So the most important part of this course is the Wallpaper Engine. This is not a free program. I repeat, it is not free, and you have to purchase it from Steam in order to use it. You cannot follow this course without the Wallpaper Engine. However, it is relatively cheap and you can grab it for a couple of bucks on Steam. It is usually $3.99 on Steam. Do not enroll in the course until you own this program. This course will involve some minor programming, so I hope you are up for the challenge. It will not be anything hard, barely an introductory level into JavaScript. We will use a date object provided by JavaScript, and we will add our own logic to extract hours, minutes, weekdays, and months. I will assume that most people watching the course will be non-programmers, so I will take a slower pace and explain basic things that most of you advanced developers already know. If you don't want to roll your sleeves and become a coder for half an hour, this course is not for you. If you don't own or plan to purchase Wallpaper Engine, this course is not for you. If you feel adventurous and are in good mood, then welcome to the course. To get the Wallpaper Engine, you will have to install Steam, and you have to create an account if you don't have one already. So in your browser you can just Google Steam and you can download Steam Client. So after that you'll have to install Steam and create a new account, and you can do it from the official website here. So once you have this installed, you can open your Steam, and this is all the games you have, all the programs and everything. So we can search for Wallpaper Engine right here. If you already own this program, your screen will look identical to mine. If you don't have it, then here you will have a price and the option to add it to a library. So here we can click on Use Now, and it will launch the wallpaper program. So once it is opened, we have a couple of options here. So these are all the wallpapers that I have installed from the Steam Workshop, and they are all created by other people and are free for you to use. Here you can also discover what is trending, what can you download to your PC, and then here you can also explore more of the workshop. You can choose some perfect wallpapers. So let's close the program down and let's actually start building our new wallpaper. The first thing that you will need is a text editor or an IDE, which is Integrated Development Environment, which developers use as it provides life-saving utilities while writing code. In this course, I will use a free IDE, Visual Studio Code, and I recommend you do the same. So open the website, download it, and I will show you how to actually run it. So you just type in Visual Studio Code. And here on my bar here, let's just open Visual Studio Code. So once you open this, you have lots of options. But the most important thing when working on any kind of documents is to save often. So click File and just look at what is the shortcut for save, because you will use save quite often and it's something that you have to learn to use. So back to our desktop, let's create another folder, and I will call this Wallpaper Theme. So inside this folder, I will keep my code of this wallpaper. So back to our VS, and that is how I will call it for the rest of the course. Let's close down this welcome. Let's go to File and let's click on Open Folder. And then we have to navigate to Wallpaper Theme. click here, and here we have an empty folder. And I will create another file inside, and I will name this index.html. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is the standard markup language for creating documents that will be displayed in a web browser. So HTML gives a structure to our web page document so the browser knows what it has to render on the page. So there is a shortcut to create a default HTML page. So inside this file, you just have to add exclamation mark and then press tab. So this shortcut will not work in a common text editors such as Notepad. It will only work in an IDE. So let's look at what we have inside this file now. We have two parts. We have a header, written here head, and we have this body part. So in the header, we can write a description of our document, such as meta tags and a title of our document. So here we have title, and let's add Wallpaper Engine Custom Theme. And let's save this. So inside header, you can also write some styles for this document using CSS. So CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets, is a style sheet language used for describing the presentation of a document that is written in a markup language such as HTML. So we just have to open style, and inside here we will write styles for our little wallpaper here. So there are a lot of options and standards when it comes to the styling of documents, and it would go out of the scope of this course to explain them all. In this course, I will use a flex box to style our elements, so if you are more interested in how it works, that is the term that you have to Google, flexbox. So inside body, we have to write, or we can write some HTML elements. So for example here, I want to have a div element. So if you type, for example, div, you just have to press tab, and it will autocomplete this element here. And you can also give an ID to an element for unique identification, and IDs have to be unique. You cannot repeat IDs inside your document. So here I will just write app, and this will be the name of our, or the ID of our main div here. And inside we can add a heading 1, which is the largest heading, and here I'm just going to write hello world exclamation mark. You can save by Ctrl S, and in order to preview this inside your browser, let's click on index.html, and you can click here open in browser. So now you have this hello world rendered on the screen. So now let's style this, and let's actually center it to the screen. So back inside our file here, in order to style a specific div element, we can target it by using its ID. So here we write hashtag app, and then we add curly braces here. So then inside, I will write some logic that you don't have to understand, but you can Google it yourself. I will not cover it in the course, as I mentioned. So let's add display to be flex, and you will often have these auto-suggested lines that you can just press enter and the ID will fill it out for you. So then I want to have a flex direction of column, so the elements inside this div will be rendered one below the other, and you will see how it looks once we add some more elements inside our application. And then here I want to set align items and center. So this will actually center all elements inside this div with an ID of app to be centered and rendered in center. So let's save, let's go to our browser, we have to refresh the page, and there you go, we have this hello world centered in our page. Now let's add JavaScript to our page. So JavaScript is a lightweight programming language that allows us to create dynamic web pages, and alongside HTML and CSS is one of the core technologies of the World Wide Web. JavaScript allows users to interact with your web application. So inside body, here, we can open script tags, and syntax is always the same. So you always have to open something and then you always have to close down something. It also goes with body, with head, with style, and all of these HTML elements inside. So the first thing that I want to do here is to create an event listener with JavaScript that will listen to our page loading. And when our page has fully loaded and the browser has rendered our page to the screen, we can then access our HTML elements in this document with JavaScript and perform some live mutations on it. For example, updating the date and time every second. So then here, let's add some syntax, and then I will explain how this works. So we have this window, and this window object represents an open window in a browser. So for example, that page where we have Hello World is a window. Then here we can use a method add event listener, and inside we have to specify which listener we want to listen. So here I want to say load, and that is the event that tracks when our page has loaded. And then here next we have a comma, and then here we have a function that will execute and all the content inside when this event is triggered. So now let me show you a couple of things that you can do with JavaScript, some very basic things. So for example, we can have a alert here, and let's add a message inside. So page has loaded. Let's save, and let's go to our screen here. If we refresh, well, we have this alert, page has loaded. And this is all done with JavaScript. JavaScript listened to our page loading, and once the page has loaded, it displays this alert. So press OK and it will close down. So back here, another thing I want to show you is we have a console.log, and this will log something to the console, and I will show you where this is actually logged. So inside, let's also write page has loaded. Let's save, and let's go here. By pressing F12 or by pressing right click and here inspect, you will open these developer tools, and then here you have this console, and we have nothing here. But if we refresh the page, we have this event page has loaded that is coming from this console log method here. And also the shorter code, you can write log and then you can press enter and it will create all of this code for you. Okay. So with this piece of code, we ensure that all of our HTML has loaded before we try to access any of our elements with JavaScript. Because otherwise, if we access our elements too soon, JavaScript will not be able to see them and our code would not work. In programming, we can also define variables, and variables are the names you give to computer memory locations which are used to store values in a computer program. So that is a textbook definition of a variable. So let's define a variable here, const name equals to my name here. So const is a variable identifier, and there are a couple of variable identifiers inside JavaScript. You have const, which is a constant. You also have let, and then you also have var. So there are some differences between them. I will not bother you in this course, but basically they have a different scope of how they work and where they can be accessed. And then also, for example, one difference between const and let and var is const cannot be reassigned once it has a value. So we cannot write name equals to dough. We cannot change this. This is illegal move in JavaScript. Because this should be a constant value, it has a constant reference to some point in memory. But for example, last name we can change to, for example, John. And this will actually work. And also goes with var. and var is a global variable inside JavaScript, which you should not use in modern JavaScript. So basically in modern JavaScript, most often you will see constants. And so let's also log name here, and let's write something useful. So my name is, and then here we can add a comma. Let's save and let's see what we have here. So if we refresh the page, we have my name is Dino. Okay, so back here I want to define variables that will contain days of the week and months of the year, and I will define them as arrays. So let's define week days, and then here we will have a square brackets. So an array is a data structure consisting of a collection of elements, values or variables, each identified by index or key. So inside here I want to have all the days inside our week, and let's actually start from Sunday, and you will see later why. I will explain it to you. So we have Monday, then we have Tuesday, we have Wednesday, we have Thursday, we have Friday, and lastly we have Saturday. Okay, so this is an array of strings where every element has its position, and positioning in programming in arrays always starts from 0. So this element has a position of 0, and let's add a comment here. So this is 0, and then this is position 1, and then you have position 2, position 3, position 4, 5 and 6. And that's how you also access these elements. So let's create a simple log, and I will show you how to access these weekdays. So let's write day of the week. Let's add, and let's take this variable weekdays. So here, to access a item on particular index or position, we can just write 0, and then we will access the element inside this weekdays array at position 0, which is Sunday. So if we save, let's go here, let's refresh. Well, I have a typo, so it's weekdays. Then also here you have this error. What is the error in your code? And here weekday VD is not defined. So let's refresh, and we have day of the week is Sunday. And if you want to take some other day, for example Tuesday, so Tuesday is third element, but since we start from 0, it is actually 0, 1 and 2. So Tuesday is at second position, or index 2. And let's try this out. And then there we have day of the week, Tuesday. So let's comment out all of this code here. And here I will define a list of months that we have in our application here. So const months equals to an array, and then here we have January, we have February, we have March, we have April, May, we have June, July, we have August, we have September, October, November, and lastly we have December. And then to access these months, you will do the same thing that we did right here. So now let me show you how we can find out what is the current date and time in our JavaScript here. So for that, let's create a new constant, new variable, datetime, and we can leverage something that is built inside JavaScript, and that is new date object here. So this will return a instance of this class. So then here, let's log what we have under datetime. If we refresh, well, we have all the information that we need. We have the day, we have month, 21st, we have the year, we also have hours, minutes, and seconds, and we also have this time zone difference, but we will not use this. So back here, if you want to activate or execute some methods that you have on this object, you can put in a dot here, and then your IDE will list all the methods that you can call on this object. And you have loads of options here. So I want to take hours, and since this is a method, you have to add brackets to actually execute it. Let's also log datetime get minutes. I want to log datetime dot get month. I want to add datetime dot get day, which is our weekday, and lastly let's take datetime dot get date, and date is just the number of day in that month. For example, today is 21st, so that is the date here. So let's save and let's see what we have. So now if we refresh, well, we just have a bunch of integers here, or a bunch of numbers. So we have 23 hours, 23 minutes, which is a very random occurrence. Then we have 10, that's our month. We have 6 as a day of our week, and then we have 21st, which is the day of this month here, 21st. Okay, so you can see a couple of problems here. We don't have exactly the month, we have this integer 10, and then for day we have 6 and not Tuesday, for example, or Saturday or Sunday. So that is why we have these variables here, and then we can extract from these variables what is the actual day. And getDay method in JavaScript actually counts days in this order. Sunday is at index 0, that is why we had to put Sunday here and not just here before Saturday. So if you want to access and get the result of weekdays, then just here let's call weekdays, and then let's access this index position. So let's save, let's go here, let's refresh, and sure enough we have Saturday, and Saturday is today's date, believe it or not. So let's go here and let's also do the same for month. So months, and let's access this index position of 10, and 10 is October here, or November actually. So if we refresh, well, we have November, and that is accurate month here. So this works, that's fine. We just have to add some additional functions and it will be ready for use. So back inside our application, I have added a couple of things here, but no worries, you will not have to pause and copy what I have here. I will make this file available, so you can just download this file as a resource. It will be attached to this lecture. So what I have added is this new font here, a custom font, and you also have to register this font family, and this is the name of the font. And also I have added a couple of new styles. So we have this background image, and we also have this background image here that you will also be able to download. And I will also show you from where to choose your own font and from where you can download your image. But let me just explain what I have added to this file. So then here we have these properties that basically prevent the user from selecting text on our HTML page. Here we also have two new styles, and we have two new headings. We have time, where we will display our time, and we have date where we will be displaying month and weekday. And then also we have styles where we increase the font size, we increase the font weight, and we remove the margin from our elements, because headings always have a very large margin. So now, first let's see from where to get your own fonts. So if you go to your browser, go here and type in Google Fonts, and then browse fonts, and you have loads of very amazing fonts to choose from. So if you like, for example, this font, just click on it, and then here you have also a couple of options, for example, regular or bolded. So for example, just click on select this style, and you have this link to copy. So you just copy this and you paste it here inside your head. So you paste the link, you go back here and you copy this font family role, and you just paste it here inside your body. And that is it, you have a custom font. But I will actually remove this, as I have already chosen my font. So now for the image, let's type pixels, and this is an amazing website where you have these free to use images, and I just typed in nature wallpaper. And then just pick something you like. I chose a very dark image because of the contrast. We have a white date and time, so it goes nice together. But here you can pick whatever you like. So now let's start working on our application. So nothing is changed inside our script here. So here, let me show you how you can target an HTML element and how you can change its content. So let's define a new variable, and I will actually comment this out. So const time equals to document dot get element by ID. So document is this document that we have here, and then we use this get element by ID method, and this is the ID that we have to provide, so time. So then here we type time, and this will return an element with this ID. And let's actually log what we have on this element. So let's save, let's go here, let's refresh. Well, we have our image, that's amazing. And then here we have our HTML element in its fullness. So in order to take the content and not the whole element itself, we have a method on our object here. So let's write content, and then here we have a inner text method. So let's save, let's go here, let's refresh. Well, we don't have anything. Let's just add a semicolon here. We don't have anything because our ID here, our element here is empty. So if we add something and now refresh, we have content of our element, which is also now rendered here. But if you notice, I cannot select even if I try with my mouse. Otherwise the text would be blue. You know how when you select some text. So that is how you can retrieve content. But if you want to update content, you can use the same function or the same method. So time dot inner text, but you just assign a value here. And let's add I am learning JS. Let's save, let's go here, and if we refresh, the contents have changed. So JavaScript dynamically changed the content here, and it updated this to be I'm learning JS now. So this is how we can leverage this function to actually update our clock whenever it changes. So now here, let's take this new date, and we will have to create a couple of new functions. So here I will create a function. So function is just a reusable piece of code that you can use in multiple places, because when a project gets really large, you actually have to separate your code and follow a dry principle. Don't repeat yourself. So inside functions, you can kind of extract some commonly used code, and not type it anymore. So get time, and you can also pass a variable to this function so it has access to the function. So here I want to pass date time. So inside this function, let's create hours variable, and we can use datetime.getHours, and it's a method. And let's also create minutes. So minutes and datetime.getMinutes, like this. So here let's return hours plus semicolon and plus minutes here. And then here I want to execute this function. So get time, and let's see what will actually happen. And I will remove this console log and also remove this something from here. So if we go here and we refresh, well, we do have an error. Get time, get hours of undefined. Oh, because we actually have to pass this date time object here. So now if we refresh, well, we have current date and time. Looks very cool. But one problem that we can have here is now it's not shown, but for example, if it's midnight and you have 00, you will actually have only 0, because JavaScript will not return in 00, but only 10. So that is why we have to handle this edge case. When hours are less than 10, I want to add this 0 automatically. And basically with this operation, with these pluses, we can just create a custom string. So nothing complex here. So inside programming, you can use ifs to test for some conditions. For example, if some value is, for example, true or false, I want to execute this piece of code. I want to do something. So for example, a condition here would be if hours is less than 10, which means that I want to add a 0 here. So it would be, for example, 0 plus hours. That would be something that we do here. But I mentioned hours cannot be changed because this is a constant. So here we have a couple of options. We can turn this into a let, and then we can reassign this value, or we can use a ternary expression inside JavaScript, which basically will shorten this code, because you cannot just write if here when you return. You actually have to do an if and then assign a value to something. So ternary expression can be written very shortly, and then here we can just have, for example, let's add a brackets here, so we can test for a condition, for example, hours less than 10, and by the way, everything that you test inside here has to return a boolean, and boolean means true or false. So this will return a boolean. For example, now it will return false because it's 23, and 23 hours is not less than 10. So it will return false, in which case we do not add these hours here. So if this is, and in order to test whether this is true, we can add a exclamation mark here. So if this is true, so this part is now the same as here. I want to copy this and I want to have it here. So this is our part that we have. But in other case that this is not true, I want to return just hours. So I know this looks complex, but it's much cleaner and it fits in a one line. And programmers very much like one-liners. So this is what we will do here. And let's also do the same thing well for minutes. So minutes, let's also wrap them inside brackets. You actually don't have to, but it's kind of cleaner, I think. So if minutes are less than 10, question mark, then we return 0 plus minutes. In other case, we return just minutes. Let's save and let's check if we actually broke something. So if we refresh, well, everything seems to be working. But now we will handle this edge case when minutes are 0. So now, continuing on, let's add the same thing for date. So let's create const date equals to document.getElementById, and here let's provide date, which is the ID that we have here. And then let's also create another function, so function getDate. We provide datetime object to this function, so the function has access to this object. And then here I just want to return week, days, and datetime.getDay. We add a plus. I just want to have a comma here, plus, and let's actually copy it from here. So months, get month, and we have datetime, get date. Like this here. So now let's set the inner text of this date to be equal to the result of this function here. So get date, and let's pass date time. So let's save and let's check what we have. So back here, if we refresh, well, we have Sunday, November, and 22. So this looks much cleaner right now and much nicer. But we have a very big problem right now. Well, our date time is not actually updating. If we just leave it here, it would still display the same time even after 10 minutes. So we have to find a way how to update our, well, time here. So for that, we will have to use something that is built inside JavaScript, and it is called setInterval, that accepts a function as a first parameter, and then you have to define an interval in which this repeats. For example, if we want to repeat this every second, here we have to write 1 second, but in milliseconds. So 1 second has 1000 milliseconds. So then here, I will use this new syntax for creating functions, which is very popular in modern JavaScript. So inside here for now, let's just log a second has passed. So let's save and let's go here. If we refresh, well, take a look here. This now logs every second, and it is perfectly for updating our time now, as our time update would be very accurate. So then inside this, let's comment this out. So inside this function, I will actually create another variable here, and let's actually call it date time, so we have the same pattern. And let's get a new date object, which will be the current date that we have every second. So now let's copy this line here, and let's copy this line here. And now we will also, and every second when it changes, we will set a new time and date for our object, for our element here. So if you wonder how we can define this variable again, if we have it here, so that is something that's specific to const and lets. They have a block level scope, which means that if you define a const inside this set interval, it will only be accessible while inside this block here, in this block scope. if you try to access it anywhere else, it will not be available. In this case it will, because we have this datetime outside, but if you only have this one declared, it will not be accessible anywhere else. So that is a big difference with const and var, for example. So let's now save, let's go back here, let's refresh, and now, well, I will not actually wait for the time to update, unless it happens on itself, but it will. Actually, we finished our, well, little project here. So now what is left to do is we have to actually publish this project to your Steam account. Well, you don't have actually, well, now it's changed. I just talked for a little so it changes. Anyways, you don't have to actually publish it. You can just use it without publishing it, but I will also show you how to actually publish this package. So the last thing that we will do in this course is, well, let's actually apply this wallpaper as our wallpaper. So here, let's go to this Wallpaper Engine icon, press right click, and go here, create wallpaper. So now, press create wallpaper, and just provide the path to index. I mean, you just have to click on it. So index.html. Click open. And here you can give a name to this project, and I will just write minimal date and time. Press OK. So we have this preview here. You can also, well, save this, and then here you can press apply wallpaper to your screen. So it doesn't have any preview, but if you go here, well, this is now applied to your screen and it shows accurate time. This is my current time. So yeah, that's it pretty much. But here, let's also, well, here you have some options. For example, you can change these settings here. And for example, scheme color will also apply to Windows if user has enabled this color property. And then also here you have share wallpaper on workshop. So then you can give it a category here. So for example, this is nature. You can add some description, for example, minimal date and time wallpaper. And well, here you can set this to everyone. Visibility can be public, it can be visible only to your friends, or it can be private, only visible to you. So we can take a snapshot. So let's just use this here. It's a little bit strange. So let's take this and then press enter to take a snapshot. And then you can just press publish. It will upload to Steam Workshop. And you can press show wallpaper in Workshop just to see what you have there. Well, it surely takes its time to open it, so I'll probably just skip until it does. Okay, so finally we have it. This is our little live wallpaper. So yeah, this is my username if you want to add me. So yeah, this is the end of our course. There are more courses if you like to follow, where I explain programming in more details. If not, well then, I wish you all the best